Welcome back, dear listeners. This is episode 2 of our journey through Sense and Sensibility. If you missed episode 1, we explored the Dashwood family's life at Norland, the heartbreaking consequences of Mr. Dashwood's death, and the cruel decisions of John and Fanny Dashwood. We also met the kind-hearted Edward Ferrars and saw the contrast between Elinor's sense and Marianne's sensibility. Now, we continue their story. After leaving Norland, the Dashwood family settled at Barton Cottage, a small but charming home in Devonshire, kindly offered by their cousin, Sir John Middleton. For Mrs. Dashwood and her daughters, it was both a relief and a new adventure. Though the cottage was modest, it was surrounded by natural beauty. The green hills, open fields, and the soft murmur of the sea in the distance offered comfort to hearts still tender from loss. It was here that Marianne Dashwood encountered John Willoughby, a man whose charm and vivacity seemed designed to stir her passionate heart. Their meeting, initially sparked by Willoughby's kindness during Marianne's illness, quickly grew into a bond of mutual admiration. Marianne, whose nature was open, expressive, and ardent, found in Willoughby someone who could match her enthusiasm, her love for music, dance, and literature, and her delight in beauty. From the very first days, Willoughby's visits became a daily joy. He brought with him warmth, intelligence, and charm, perfectly suited to Marianne's tastes. Whether discussing poetry, admiring the scenery, or sharing music, their connection seemed effortless. Marianne's frankness and vivacity met Willoughby's lively spirit, and the days they spent together passed with laughter, discussion, and subtle glances that spoke volumes. Elinor, ever the practical observer, watched her sister with concern. While she admired Marianne's happiness, she was also keenly aware of the dangers of too much impulsiveness, and the ease with which Willoughby, handsome and engaging, might inspire attachment without enduring stability. Yet even she could not deny the evident delight and admiration in Marianne's eyes whenever Willoughby was near. The family soon discovered Willoughby's own charm was not without imperfection. He was frank to a fault, often speaking his mind without regard for propriety, especially when his affection was engaged. He, like Marianne, prized passion over caution, and in their shared enthusiasm, both sometimes overlooked the wisdom of restraint. Yet, for Mrs. Dashwood, Willoughby appeared nearly flawless, amiable, talented, and spirited. A young man who could easily win the heart of any mother for her daughter. As days passed, it became increasingly clear that Marianne's affections were entirely with Willoughby. In every social engagement, at every gathering and party, the pair were inseparable. If dancing was the amusement, they were partners for half the evening. If music was played, they performed together with obvious delight. Even minor separations caused noticeable distress, though never enough to diminish their mutual devotion. Elinor, meanwhile, observed another story unfolding quietly beside her own. Colonel Brandon, older and reserved, had long admired Marianne, though his affection remained unnoticed by her. In contrast to Willoughby's lively attentions, Brandon's feelings were silent, patient, and cautious, and Elinor's attention often fell upon him. Though he was overlooked by Marianne, she recognized in him integrity, gentleness, and a depth of character that deserved respect and compassion. One morning, a piece of news stirred Marianne's imagination. Willoughby had sent her a horse, a gift of rare kindness and beauty, personally bred and perfect for riding. Without hesitation, Marianne accepted, dreaming of daily gallops across the Devonshire downs. Elinor, ever practical, gently reminded her that the gift might be imprudent, given household constraints and her mother's modest arrangements. Though disappointed, Marianne agreed to decline the present temporarily, and when she informed Willoughby of her decision, he responded with tender understanding, promising that the horse would remain hers when circumstances allowed. In that moment, Elinor observed an intimacy between them so pronounced that it confirmed her suspicions. They were already engaged in heart, if not in formal announcement. With such promise and affection, their days flowed with a new rhythm. Social invitations and outings became the stage upon which their young love blossomed. At every gathering, whether at Sir John Middleton's park or on a small sail along the river, Marianne and Willoughby's connection was the subject of admiration and often gentle ridicule. but ridicule had no power over them. Their joy was in each other, and no jest could diminish it. Meanwhile, Elinor's own heart remained quietly burdened. Her affection for Edward Ferrars, steady and sincere, could not be displayed with the same ardor as her sister's feelings. In polite company, Elinor maintained composure and discretion, concealing the anxieties and hopes that pressed upon her spirit. She recognized, with painful clarity, the uncertainties of Edward's situation and the influence of his family, especially his overbearing mother, who would never approve a match without fortune. As social life at Barton continued, Marianne's attachment to Willoughby deepened, and Colonel Brandon's feelings became more evident, if quietly so. One afternoon, Elinor overheard a conversation that hinted at Marianne's immovable romantic ideals and Brandon's patient admiration. Though she sympathized with Brandon, she also felt the pain of seeing her sister so fully absorbed in another's attention. Marianne, however, did not pause to question her desires. She allowed herself the full indulgence of her passion and joy. Willoughby's every compliment, every shared pleasure, reinforced her devotion. Yet, in this period of bliss, caution was ever present in Elinor's mind, reminding her that youthful passion often obscures prudence. Then came a moment that would test Marianne's heart more than any before. One day, Willoughby's behavior suggested a change, slight, but unmistakable. Whispers of secrecy, fleeting expressions, and subtle gestures hinted at matters unspoken. Marianne, with her vivid imagination, immediately feared the worst, and though she tried to maintain hope, a shadow began to cloud her happiness. Meanwhile, Elinor remained vigilant. She observed the signs with her calm, rational mind, yet dared not disturb Marianne's peace by voicing her suspicions. In her careful judgment, she knew that the intricacies of human character often unfold gradually, and that, sometimes, appearances conceal truths best revealed in time. The Dashwoods were soon invited to London, to a ball hosted by Lady Middleton. Though Mrs. Jennings was thrilled by the prospect of city excitement, Marianne's thoughts remained with Willoughby. She hoped desperately that their paths would cross, that letters would arrive, or that some sign of his affection would appear. In the bustling streets of London, surrounded by carriages, lights, and society's endless motion, Marianne's heart remained anchored in Devonshire, where Willoughby had stirred her deepest emotions. When at last she glimpsed him, the moment was fleeting, and his distant demeanor shattered the fragile hope she clung to. The letters that followed brought anguish. Willoughby's words, distant and formal, revealed a new and devastating truth. He was engaged to another. Marianne's world seemed to crumble around her. She wept in silence, unable to speak, and only Elinor's gentle presence offered any solace. Even Mrs. Jennings, well-meaning and energetic, could not penetrate the sorrow that enveloped Marianne's heart. Days passed, and Marianne's grief remained. She withdrew, silent and introspective, while Elinor patiently watched, offering quiet comfort. Slowly, the first signs of recovery appeared. Marianne rose earlier, walked in the fresh air, and began to play music again, though now with a subdued and reflective air. Her passion, though wounded, had softened into a tender understanding of disappointment, and a cautious opening of her heart to new possibilities. It was during this fragile period of healing that Colonel Brandon wrote a letter. His words, gentle and considerate, expressed concern for Marianne's health and happiness. There was no pretension, no display, only quiet sympathy and honest regard. When Elinor read the letter aloud, Marianne felt a small but profound comfort. For the first time since her heartbreak, she whispered, "He is a good man, truly good." And so, dear listeners, we leave our characters at a turning point. Marianne recovering from her first, passionate heartbreak, and beginning to sense the steady, patient affection of Colonel Brandon. Elinor remains the steadfast observer, balancing sense and sensibility, guiding her sister while tending to her own concealed hopes for Edward. The Dashwoods have endured loss, witnessed love and betrayal, and now, in this second episode of their journey, they stand on the threshold of new beginnings, ready for the trials, joys, and revelations that the next chapters will bring. Thank you for listening to Vintage Tales Narrations. If you enjoyed this classic literary journey, please take a moment to like this video. To ensure you don't miss upcoming episodes of this or future stories, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.